Hello, everybody. Today, I want to ask Melissa Orlov, how do core values and love language play a role in ADHD and relationships?
There's this basic process of getting to know somebody where you're bumping up against compatibility, essentially, right? So if somebody's idea of, I'm going to take a biggie just because it's illustrative, if somebody thinks monogamy is important and somebody else wants an open marriage, you have a problem. you know,
But
I mean,
why?
a very basic problem. And it isn't that either one of those is, I mean, one of them is more societally recognized, but each person gets to choose what they want to choose. So really part of this is being able to honestly and openly talk about what your core values are and what's important. My daughter just got married in October of this last year now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And one of the things that I did was I sent them a book, which was, X millions of questions to talk about before you get married or whatever. Because just for this reason, right? You can go through the whole dating thing and you can say, well, you think you know each other pretty well, but there are all sorts of things that you may or may not have discussed that are underpinning whether or not you're going to be successful, like your attitudes towards finances, like
Mhm.
Mm.
and your assumptions. I run into couples rather regularly where the man has ADHD, the woman does not. The man runs into job problems because of the ADHD symptoms getting in the way, or he has trouble putting himself out there, or whatever it is. And the woman is suddenly the sole bread earner. And
Mhm.
there was this assumption on her part that that wasn't going to happen and she was going to be able to be raising children or whatever. Call it traditional, but it's a misfire in terms of sort of their basic understanding of what their dreams were for their relationship and how other things that might happen. So core values are really important, and getting to know them can be tricky. I'm all for hey, go like ask some questions that somebody else thought up who's already been through this, because how do you know whether to talk about finances or I mean most people would
Mhm.
assume that, but that kind of a situation. And that also includes love languages. You've talked about love languages a couple times. Um, and how you express um, how you care. So we talked before about that hyper-focused courtship. And one of the
Mhm.
confounding things about that process of having all this extra dopamine, and what happens is the ADHD partner is hyper attentive, like really attentive. And so that obscures the love language stuff because there's just like no way out of this attention. Like when you are being pursued by somebody who's in that hyper focused courtship state, it's like, yes, this is so great, and you're not thinking about anything else. Totally, this is the person I was meant to be with, all that stuff. Um, and so, take time to really explore that, explore those love languages, and B, practice delivering in your partner's love language.
Do you think ADHD amplifies different types of love languages?
Ooh,
Um,
that's a good
yeah, like
question.
for example, uh, physical touch or
Words of
gift giving
affirmation.
versus quality time.
I don't think it amplifies, I don't think it skews people to choose or to be in one language versus another, which is one way to
Mhm.
think about your question.
Mhm.
Um, I do think so. There are a couple of characteristics around ADHD, which makes some of the love languages more difficult to execute. One is that research suggests that adults with ADHD have more trouble reading emotional cues from other people, including their partners, than people who don't have ADHD. So if you have trouble reading emotional cues, you may not know when your partner needs words of encouragement or support, or when your partner needs a hug or whatever. And so that can interfere with the execution of making, your partner feeling seen or attended to, or however you want to talk about that.
Mhm.
But
And
I
and then
don't
you have the
know.
whole like men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah.
So like you have to be ultra descriptive of what you need as a woman.
Yeah, and still, so there's also another aspect, right, which is memory issues. So one of the executive function issues for many people, not everybody, but many people with ADHD, is that they have difficulty with short-term with working memory, and so you may tell your partner, "Hey, this, physical touch is my love language," and they may be all over it, think, "Yeah, that's great, I can do that," or whatever, and then they just forget.
Mhm.
Either that's the case in the extreme examples, or that they need to do something about it. They're off in the present moment. There's this now, not now time zones thing that Ned Hallowell talks about. Your ADHD is you're either in the now or you're in the not now, and that's it. It's like two choices. If it's in the not now, like you had the conversation 2 weeks ago, you may or may not be executing on it anymore, which is truly frustrating to the other partner, who not only remembers it but feels really hurt that you don't remember it. And this is an example of why understanding what ADHD is about is really helpful, because if you understand that that is actually a symptom of the ADHD, that it is the way that brain is wired, you are much more likely to be empathetic to the fact that the person forgot. It's not personal. It's not that they don't love you. It's that
Right.
the symptom got in the way. And then you can create a response that the two of you can have to it. Like, "Oh, you didn't remember that. Well, let me fill you in," or some reminder system that the ADHD partner uses to remember to go attend to the partner. I mean, it sounds kludgy, but if it works, it works. It's like a lot of couples
Yeah.
have a weekly emotions meeting just to get that kind of stuff out.
Yeah. Would you also say that communication for ADHDers can be like text messaging can be simpler sometimes for the partners to get across what they're trying to get across rather than in person?
What you tend not to do in a text message is lecture. And so if you're talking about the interaction between a couple where one partner feels they're not getting their point across and they're lecturing as a result, like, you don't seem to have gotten that. I'm going to tell you about it in a different way. You
Yeah.
lose people with ADHD when you do that. So texting gets rid of that because it's way too inconvenient to lecture somebody in a text. So
Sure.
it's almost impossible. So you get a much more rapid back and forth, which is very useful for an ADHD partner. You also have the ability, like in an email, sometimes I say to people, write, if you got something highly emotional, some couples say that it really helps to write about it rather than to talk about it, because you have time to assess whether you're using the right words or you're getting across the point you want to get across, and you can revise. And people with ADHD will say, when it's really important, it's so hard for me to get everything organized in my brain, I slow down. And it becomes really frustrating for non-ADHD partners because their partner suddenly is in sluggish mode because they're really interested in collecting the information and saying it the right way. And the other partner's going like, "Oh, oh, oh,"
Like, come on.
come on. And if they don't know that that's what's going on, if you know that your partner's slowing down because they're really engaged with you, you can be more patient. If you think they're slowing down because, you imagine that they're trying to obfuscate or they're trying to cover something up or they don't know how they feel and they're trying to figure out what to say to you, then things go south. So a lot of this is about getting to know ADHD.
I want to run it back to the forgetful piece.
Yeah.
I think that plays a role in like different love languages, like or just different like activities and acts you have as a relationship. I've been with my girlfriend for 6 years, and holiday after holiday that goes by, I'm running out of gift ideas. And
You need a little list,
I
as they
know.
say.
So, that's when social media comes into play and it's really helpful. Where it's like when she sends me that DM or tags me in that post about some cool shoe that she likes, or just something that she's gotten into, some passion that she likes. And I think it's so important for the other, the partner to understand that there's going to be those times where I forget, like you could have gotten me this, but I forgot. Or so that's why I try to save these. And then, the forgetfulness also plays in like different areas, like quality time, figuring out what Netflix movie you're going to watch, or what place, what place you're going to order in from, or what activity are you going to do every day. The
Oh my
indecisiveness
goodness.
comes
That
in.
decision making for
Yeah,
the right that interferes with the quality time. That's
yes,
huge.
indecisiveness is one thing too, and I think since we are called ADHD Power Tools, a little cool tool I want to throw out there is, I think I brought this up before on one of our episodes in 80 on over here, was my girlfriend once got me this jar with a bunch of slips on it that had a bunch of different activities: watch the sunset, go biking, and it could have been, the simplest stuff, just give me a kiss or give me a hug, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
it's something to kind of help us during the indecisive time. We take something out of the jar, and it's a random activity, and it's fun, and that can go for Netflix movies or restaurants that you want to try, or just classic ones that you love so much together. So
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, you could have a movies jar and a restaurants jar
yeah,
and just toss it in there, or a gifts jar. You could do your own little
yeah.
gifts jar,
I
right?
should
Whenever
I
you
should do
like
that.
those shoes.
I gotta get to that. I still haven't gone there.
I love that. Just have a kitchen filled with jars.
All the jars.
Well, the
My version
jars.
of that is when I have something that I want to remember, because I have a little notes thing on my phone, and so I put it in there, and I have a bunch of things that I try, and you could use that easily enough. Or I'll send myself an email, and then I'll deal with it when I'm at my computer, and I can like schedule it into my calendar or whatever. I don't even have ADD, right? And I'm still doing this stuff. So it's just, it's just how do you remember stuff in an age where everything moves so fast, and everybody's on to the next thing.
You gotta adapt. You
Right.
gotta adapt. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, are there any other closing thoughts, Melissa, that you wanted to share with us? Anything coming up in your practice that you want to promote? Anything for our viewers?
Well, so I give a seminar for couples 3 times a year, which is very good. I've been giving it for a very long time, so it's been
A
highly
lot of my
refined.
clients have gone and highly recommend it.
Yep, there you go. And so I always recommend that couples do that, because as you know, as we've been talking, even it's really the key to this, aside from getting on the bandwagon and say each partner has a role to play and et cetera, is becoming educated about what's going on in the relationship when ADHD is there. What are the things that each partner is likely contributing, and where do you sit on that? And then the strategies and the tools for what you do about it. So I'm a big believer that most couples really want to make it. So they're not looking to break up. So they're eager for learning enough so that they can become much more nuanced in how they treat each other, stop throwing bricks at each other, and start being much more sympathetic and open, and that comes with the knowledge. So my experience has been that knowledge is power in relationships with ADHD, and that it's really good to pursue it.
I love it. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out?
They can go to my website, which is ADHDmarriage.com. And there is a contact form there, so they can actually contact me directly. But there are also a ton of resources there. I've got a blog. I've got these non-ADHD partner support groups. I've got ADHD group coaching. I've got my seminar, a whole bunch of things that are specifically for couples. So that's all I focus in on, is adult ADHD and couples.
Yeah, you're like an ADHD resource page. You have recommendations to therapists, recommendations to coaches.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're probably on that page. I know you are.
I am on that page. You added me.
Yep.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and it was so great meeting you in person. And thank you so much for coming on to our podcast.
I am thrilled to be here. I'm delighted to have been asked. So, and I love talking to both of you.
Yes, thank you, Brooke, for making this happen, and thank you, Melissa. Appreciate you.
All right. And I'm really impressed you're in that 6 years of relationship. That's excellent.
Yes,
I love
yes,
that. You
it's
are
going
well
strong.
past that hyper-focused courtship thing.
Yeah.
Good.